Welcome to the third triumvirate, where we talk about current events such as Russia, Ukraine, Canada, Jeff Zucker. I mean, of course, because he's the most popular person on the planet, and local news in North Carolina. Then we'll be talking about more boring topics on Capitol Hill, such as the Supreme Court and the Senate, although I don't think they're boring at all. And we'll be traveling through time, where we discuss Theodore Roosevelt's big stick policy, in which, why not? It's interesting. And lastly, we'll be asking the question, what would you do to fix the current international image of the U.S.?
All right. So you said current events first. So yeah, let's get into Russia, Ukraine. A lot going on there. So, oh man. So I guess earlier,
a lot to break down.
I know it is. I know. Let's see. So earlier this week, the U.S. deployed troops to Ukraine. They deployed 3,000 troops to Ukraine, right? Yeah, 2,000 troops from Fort Bragg, 1,000 troops from Germany. So got some movement going around there.
Which 3,000 is a lot, because if you think about it, the max amount of troops that we had in Afghanistan last year, like before like the actual pulling out, but the max we had was like 3,500. So 3,000 off the get-go is kind of a lot.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, it's definitely heating up.
We'll just when you're playing chess and then you think your opponent's going to make a move, so you preemptively kind of set up your pieces to counter that move. That's
definitely some preemptive stuff without actually getting into some it's preemptive moves without getting into preemptive war.
Right.
Like Israel did with the 6 Days War.
That's why
only they actually killed people.
So because preemptive war is just a sticky situation.
Because we don't want to move enough troops where like Russia's like, hey man, gotta go now.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you don't want to provoke, and you don't want to be called. You don't want to be blamed for the war. You don't want to be the aggressor, because then you're at fault, and it's just a whole mess, and it's bad for everyone. And I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to see, but we're sort of gearing up for whatever may happen. I know NATO is, so we'll just have to see. On top of that, today, Biden announced that Germany, let's see, where was that? Yeah, he announced that the gas pipeline project between Russia and Germany wouldn't go forward if Russia invaded Ukraine. So they're on the same page as us, sort of a united front kind of effort there.
Which
is Germany part of NATO?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really big deal, because Germany is the number one economic, powerhouse of the EU.
Yeah,
that's not behind.
I was going to say, and it's interesting to see, that's not necessarily a very well-known fact, at least in America.
Germany is
it's sort of assumed
right
the UK was a really big powerhouse.
Yeah.
But of course Brexit, so they're not part of the EU anymore.
Right.
But maybe like France is really good, but not Germany. Germany's
Germany's the powerhouse.
Do you know off the top of your head what number 2 is In the EU,
I think it's France.
is
It's
it
either France or Turkey. Yeah.
Probably not Turkey.
Oh no, EU. Sorry, in the EU, it's probably it's
EU.
definitely
Yeah, I was gonna say
France. Yeah,
Turkey's
yeah.
not.
And NATO, it'd be Turkey. But yeah.
Turkey's trying to become part of the EU, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were.
Okay.
Yep.
But they sort of
there was a-
That was a long time ago.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
there
well,
was
I was
there
gonna
was
say,
a
a lot of
really
that stalled
there was a
with-
really big push for Turkey being in the EU in like 2018,
Yeah.
2019 period.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's sort of stalled with COVID, and
I mean, it's probably a good
I don't
thing.
think the EU really. They don't.
Probably
they've
The
a
been
good
EU
acting
didn't
like
really
they
ever
want
want
it.
them.
No,
Yeah, and
I
so
wouldn't either.
now they just pushed them on like the back burner, and it's gone nowhere.
Yeah.
So,
But
I mean,
yeah,
we'll-
so
but
I mean, the thing is that Germany is playing both sides because they have the strongest relationship with Russia. Like of the EU countries, they have the strongest relationship, and so they're the ones that are put in the hot seat right now. Because all the EU countries can, except for Germany, can just say, "Hey, we support Ukraine," and there's really no problem with that.
yeah,
like,
there's no
gonna get support.
repercussions by Russia,
Right? Right.
Right.
But since
Germany, I was going to say,
relies on
I mean,
Russia.
I mean, like we said, they if to say no to Russia, they may have to stop their pipeline project. And you saw what that did to the U.S. when we stopped our pipeline project.
I mean, their backup
Gas
would
prices
be
went up.
Saudi oil. So, but yeah, the interesting thing is that Russia really needs that pipeline project because there's not much business that they do other than oil. There's just not much for Russia. That
There's
they
not
can
just
really
there's just not
export,
much
so.
in Russia.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, it's a big country.
They
It's a
have
big
their,
country, but a lot of it's barren.
Don't they also have
Yeah.
their aircraft carrier that they said was broken indefinitely?
They sold it to China.
Oh, did they?
The one that's
remember that?
broken indefinitely. They sold.
Yeah, they sold it to China. You don't remember that?
Okay.
No,
Oh
yeah,
my
no,
gosh,
yeah, no.
that
I
was
remember you
the
telling me.
biggest thing. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we were laughing about that for weeks. Oh man.
Yeah. So Russia has what?
Yeah.
One now? Two? Is it two?
Zero.
Is it
No,
zero?
it's zero.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Zero.
It was just
China
the
has
one.
two.
It was just the one. China has two.
Yeah, because like they
Yes,
had
they
the
can
one.
they can mess around
and-
in the South China Sea now. Feel all powerful.
Well, see, the thing is that with hypersonic missiles, carriers are kind of going obsolete. It's just,
they're good for
back.
planes.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that they require a whole lot of resources.
Yeah.
Because you can't just have the carrier, which by itself requires a whole lot of resources. But you also have to have a fleet around the carrier to protect the carrier.
Yeah.
And
not even that, but
it's a lot.
the carrier itself is 3,500 to 4,000 sailors.
Really?
That's insane.
Well,
Yes,
we're talking
it's-
about. Are we talking about super carriers or carriers?
Super carrier, American super carriers.
That's
'Cause
what
don't
I was.
know how
That's
much
what I was
a
assuming.
Russian
We were
can-
talking. We were just.
Yeah,
making
I don't know
clear.
how much you could put on a Russian carrier or a Chinese carrier these days, but they also have that weird up thingy. You know what I'm talking about at the end? Have you seen that where the ramp goes up just a little bit? It looks so bad. I don't know why. It's like every Russian car ever. But anyways, back to Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah. So
kind of.
I mean, just a couple more things on the pipeline project.
Yeah.
So I mean, Biden has said we'll impose sanctions on Russia if they continue, which I mean that's to be expected.
Yeah.
But let's see. So the pipeline, as it stands right now, is on hold. The European Commission is investigating whether it's in compliance with the European energy policy. Yeah, so it's actually on hold right now. So I guess it'll just stay on hold if anything happens. Just won't move forward. So I guess it's just not being.
Yeah, it's like a lame
done.
duck.
It's being used as a coercive tool against Russia, but it's not really nothing's being done with it anyways.
Yeah.
So we'll see if anything happens. But Germany has also declined to sell Ukraine any weaponry or ammunition.
Yeah.
And that's just from a policy of not contributing to ongoing conflicts. Probably.
They've got a real good history.
I was gonna say I can't say. The article doesn't say when that policy started, but we can have a guess on when that policy started.
Right.
Man. So, that's interesting because Germany and Japan took two separate paths on that policy. You know what I'm saying? Because Japan and Germany. So, kind of off topic, but it relates because Japan is trying to change their constitution to make it so that their defense force doesn't have to only defend; they can actually attack.
Yeah.
And so, versus Germany, which is like, no, we're not going to give you weapons. Like, okay. Oh man.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's
so
a little different.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else on Russia right now? I mean, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. I know that.
So
odds are we'll be.
So you have something on Russia, Nate?
Yeah. So the interesting.
Nate
cut out.
Hello, Nate. All right. Well, and we will get back to Nate shortly whenever he cuts back in. Charlie, can you move to Canada?
Yeah, we'll move to Canada.
We'll wrap back. We'll wrap back
Nate
around to Russia
back.
when Nate comes back.
So basically, just to catch anyone up, protests in Canada started. Trucker protests in Canada started on January 29th, and they're still going on. And basically, they're just protesting the vaccine mandate imposed by the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. And they've been growing in support by a lot, to the point that there's a Facebook group that has been following it that's actually gotten 700,000 members so far. So it's just interesting. I know there's also been a lot going on with their GoFundMe page and not releasing funds.
I was going to say, didn't GoFundMe
they're withholding their withholding on the funds that they were supposed to get.
Okay.
But now the Ottawa police force is saying that they would need about 1,800 more police to end the protest. Right now, the Ottawa police force contains about 1,200 people, and they're being supplemented with a couple hundred people from Ontario Police, and then Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and then some other local forces. But basically, right now, the city officials and the chief of police are basically framing it as they're pretty much under siege right now. So that gets into an interesting idea of the fact that you have that on one side where demonstrators are claiming that what we're doing is within the law, and so can you really stop them? Is really the question of what can you do about it.
Yes. So a sticky situation.
It's a sticky situation. There's also been something more funny is that Justice Hugh McLean on the Ontario Superior Court granted a temporary injunction against horn honking. So yeah, that's a little funny because it comes down to what are you going to do to enforce that? You can't really enforce that. So that's just
I was gonna say,
sort of funny the tactics that they're taking and how this is gonna. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this shakes out.
Yeah, I was gonna say it'll be interesting to see if Trudeau resorts to any other measures other than the police.
Yeah. I could see him bringing in,
because I know if that was like America. I don't know how military works in Canada, but in America, that'd be a situation where National Guard could be sent in.
Right.
I could see that happening, but I have no idea what could happen with Canada, what it takes for National Guard, or if Canada what it would take for something like that to happen in Canada.
Right. I do know that the Prime Minister has also said previously that he was not going to revoke the mandate. I'm pretty sure. So it'll be interesting to see which group budges first, basically.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a game of chicken, see who flinches first. But we'll keep an eye on that one as well.
And Nate's back now that we're wrapping up Canada. Right. So since we wrapped up Canada, we'll continue with our Russia-Ukraine talk since Nate's back.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to domestic news.
Fun times. First episode. All right. Anyways. So
it was the Russians. They hacked your internet.
Yeah, exactly. They knew exactly what I was going to say. No, but so Putin's argument right now is that diplomacy didn't work. And so therefore he has to resort to other options in terms of resolving this conflict with quotes around it.
Wait, you're saying diplomacy didn't work for him taking Crimea?
Exactly. Exactly.
I see.
Yeah. Well, at least that's what he's claiming. And so,
I still say after 7
days ago. Yeah. Anyways, 7 days ago, he said that the NATO and the U.S. aren't acknowledging his view in terms of why Ukraine is so crucial. And part of it I understand. Imagine Canada and Mexico becoming part of some Soviet alliance in the 1960s. It makes sense that he doesn't want Ukraine to join NATO, because if, say, Ukraine takes back Crimea, that means all of NATO versus Russia in order to take back Crimea. And so I understand what he's saying, but in the same thought, it's he's acting like a military dictator. So
what about this? You may know more about this. You probably know more about this than me, Nate. What is the problem or problems multiple with Russia joining NATO?
With Russia?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of NATO is against Russia.
Yeah, but
if
you can't beat them, join them, right? Honestly, wouldn't that just solve a bunch of problems? If Russia just joined NATO and then Ukraine also joined NATO.
I mean, so the thing is that NATO's supposed to keep Russia from gaining influence, and so if we allow Russia to gain influence, then
but within NATO.
Exactly. So that would be most every European country.
Yeah, but within our rules, right?
I mean, all right. Well, think about this.
Sort of Russia, our house, our rules kind of thing.
I mean, I thought we tried that already, and it didn't work with Crimea. But okay. I mean,
that's fair enough.
But anyways, I mean, just think about it this way. If we did allow that, say both Ukraine and Russia did join NATO, and then Russia said, "Oh, Ukraine attacked our border," and then they took over, Russia took over Ukraine, we can't do anything about it. We physically can't,
because Russia's our NATO ally.
Exactly. So, I mean, we could kick them out of NATO, but then again, what was the point in the first place if you're just going to allow them to join to kick them out? So,
right.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but.
It just sort of came to me right now. I was like, I mean,
it's good to have these out of the box ideas.
Let's solve world peace real quick. Everyone joined NATO. Let's get China in on it too.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, no, I think our biggest thing with NATO is that it allows us to basically force European nations to impose sanctions on people. So,
Russia,
our NATO allies have to not necessarily join, but basically enforce our sanctions on, say, places like Russia and China and Somalia, or whatever. So North Korea, I think, is the best example. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, cool. That answers
Yeah.
my questions.
But I'm glad that we're having this discussion because I didn't think of that at all.
Well, I mean, I was just like, dude, these presidents have been trying way too hard to get world peace. Easy solution.
Yeah.
But no, I realized that it wouldn't be that simple.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
But it's kind of funny, this quote from Putin. He said this, and then he means Crimea, is sovereign Russian territory. The question is closed for us. He's like, don't ask another question about Crimea.
We don't want to talk about it.
Exactly.
We don't want to talk about it anymore.
Exactly.
Case closed. Let's move on. Let's move on. Forget it.
But
Forget it.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
Russia.
man. I love that
yeah.
all the way up until I can't remember when Ukraine was formed, but since whenever Ukraine was formed all the way up until 2014, it was considered Ukraine's sovereign territory. Yeah.
Well,
all right. Go ahead, Putin.
Yeah. What you want to believe.
Exactly.
Let's move to some domestic news.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
we
goody.
We did Canada while you were gone, Nate.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
All
fine.
right. Let's see. Jeff Zucker. That's the big one.
Good
That's the
old,
big one
good,
for
good old
domestic news.
Jeff Zucker. Yeah. All right. So it's kind of
All
interesting that in order to get context for this, we have to go back to the Cuomos.
It was a war.
Take us back, Nate.
No.
Take us back.
So the Cuomos, the first one was governor of New York, and you're like, hey, that's a pretty high powered position, Like, how did he get that? Yeah.
Cool.
Well, he got pushed out for sexual misconduct allegations that were I think they're proven, right? I'm pretty sure they're proven. Anyways, we'll say allegations for lawyering purposes right now.
Okay.
And then the other Cuomo, the dumber of the two, Fredo, he got pushed out for the exact same thing. What a big surprise! Wow, it's almost as if he was covering for the other one. And then now, the president of CNN is getting. Well, he resigned, but I'll just say he got pushed out because he didn't acknowledge a relationship with a quote unquote friend who divorced her husband for a quote unquote relationship with said friend. And so, it's kind of interesting how he literally said in a statement that I acknowledge the relationship evolved in recent years. I was required to disclose it when it began, but I didn't. I was wrong. As a result, I'm resigning today. It's like, wow, that's the most non-answer you could ever give. It's like,
well, I mean, you're not going to get a straight answer. Someone's not just going to give up a straight answer when they don't need to.
Exactly. I mean, why would you incriminate yourself even more?
Exactly.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
But who is this person that you ask? Who is it that he had a relationship with? Oh, that's right, the executive VP and chief marketing officer. I mean, how much more elitist can you get? Oh man. But yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens to CNN.
I mean, their ratings have already tanked 90%.
Well,
so
I was going to say that was before he resigned.
Yeah. But no, I just thought that was interesting. The other thing is that they both left their marriages for this relationship. So, kind of interesting that he didn't disclose it at the time.
Yeah.
But all right.
Well, and the other more interesting thing is that in most of the movies that you watch, whenever two people say that they they'll leave their relationships for someone else. One of the two usually doesn't follow through. So
let's not compare movies to real life. I mean,
I don't know.
Some lessons can be learned, but also a lot of that's I think is for.
I don't know. CNN's been living a comedy life for the past couple of years. What do you say?
If the Babylon, if the Babylon Bee can make predictions, why can't I? Why can't I?
Oh man, we shouldn't go down that road.
More trusted news.
We should not. Okay. Moving on.
Moving on. Just
Moving
Real
on.
quick.
something else that I noticed, just real quick to gloss over with domestic news.
Mhm.
As I was looking at stuff, the amount of articles that I found about shootings and gun violence was insane.
Really?
And so like every other one was a shooting.
And
So
what was the site that you were on?
it was just on Google News.
Gotcha.
And so it just makes me sort of question if, like, just because of COVID and everything else, are they just not getting the attention anymore? And so, like, that's why I had to scroll to find them.
Yeah.
And they're not like, they're never in the big news, but there's just a lot of them there. But it also makes you wonder if, like, we're trying to put more pressure on that, and if that's going to become. Sorry, I lost my mic there. No, but it makes me wonder if we're getting ready to put more pressure on gun control and whatnot. Because I mean, it's gun control has always been a hot topic, but it'll be interesting to see if in the coming months, because of that, if it becomes a hotter topic again.
Yeah.
So
it'll
just be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, something to relate the Canadian protests is that Canada really does not have a history of protests or like really even like dissent against the government. And so for them to have a protest, it's here in America, it's like, whatever.
Oh, there's
another protest down the block. Oh boy, hope they don't loot some Nikes. It's like whatever.
I was gonna say there was protests going on in Minnesota this past week.
Yeah. But anyways, so like the thing is that like with gun violence, in America it's like guns. What's your point? Whereas in the rest of the world, it's like guns. Oh no, it's guns. Oh, it's like it's a big thing. They see somebody with a gun and they're scared, and it's like, why? I mean, obviously, if they mean to do you harm, then that's bad. But like, if it's a police officer, that's the thing is I'll see these college kids who are like, "Hey, I saw a police officer today, and they had a gun, and I was scared because I didn't know what they were going to do with it." And I'm like, I know exactly what they're going to do with it. They're going to leave it in its holster. It's not going to go anywhere. Less than 1% ever get to actually use their weapon on duty. So it's like, you're stupid. But yeah, off topic. Back on the topic.
Actually, since you're back, I didn't know. You may know more about it than me or not. But on that same sort of thread, for protests like in America, if something that went on in America, like what's going on in Canada, National Guard could be sent in America.
Yeah.
Do you know what can happen in Canada? Is there any kind of equal kind of thing that can go on? Because part of what's going on in Canada is the lack of police.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Timmy about. Is right now the Ottawa police force is basically like, we don't have enough men, and they're being supplemented by Ontario Police and Mounted Royal Canadian Police,
Mounties,
and then also some just other local police departments. But like, what more can they do?
Do you know? Right. So think about it this way. In America, since we're used to protests, we're like, oh no, march on Washington, gotta send however many thousands of police to Washington, and then of course Washington has a huge police force just for that reason. And other than being the number two terror attack city in the world. But anyways, the difference is like Canada, it's like, we have a protest? What? So obviously they're not prepared. So
so it could be more of them trying to figure out how they can even approach it.
Right. I mean, it's. I bet they're taking I bet there's a lot of consultants from the U.S. that have said, "Hey, we can offer our services, for a nice fat fee, But
that Canadian currency,
exactly. But I don't know if they have a National Guard, but I'm sure that they would probably, if things got out of hand, I'm sure that they would call in some type of armed forces. But the difference is that Do you remember the Tea Party protests in 2011 before the big switch in 2012?
Dude, the only Tea Party that I know of is
Is the
in the
Boston Tea Party?
1700s.
Yeah. So, anyways, the Tea Party protests, they left the area cleaner than when they arrived, and so that's kind of the same
this was where?
policy. This was in Washington.
Okay.
So, it's kind of the same policy for the Canadian truckers, is that they're leaving the areas cleaner than when they arrived. Also, they're truckers, so it's like they live in their truck. So it's not like they're sleeping on the street or whatever. There's not like a lot of different things, like, and they don't go home at the end of the day.
Right.
They're sleeping in the truck. So
just something funny that I'd mentioned to Timmy that I think you should hear is that one of the judges on the Superior Court in Ontario made a temporary injunction for horn honking in Ottawa.
Oh, of course.
Due to a complaint by a 21-year-old. So of course it was that age also.
Even better.
But the main thing is like, how are you going to enforce that? So
yeah,
I was going to say
they're already lacking
on police. What are they going to do? Send more police out to ticket people that have.
It's kind of funny that like in Canada, so they restricted speech where they tried to pass a speech law where you had to obey a pronoun of a person who preferred it. And then I don't know if it passed or not. I think it did. And then so their freedom of speech laws are very shaky.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that stuff like this is coming down from people on the Supreme Court who are power hungry. Did you know also that if you want to be a lawmaker in Canada, you have to be fluent in French? Did you know that? Because they speak in French. That's why you see all these clips of Trudeau speaking in kind of like half broken French.
Okay.
Because I can't remember if it's like, I think it was to appease the French settlers there, and especially the Native Americans that were there who spoke French when the British took it over and then left it, of course. But
Or the French took it over.
Well, yeah, the French took over first, but I meant like the British, to appease the French, allowed them to retain the French language. And so a lot of people in Canada hate French-speaking people just because of that. And also anyways,
this makes it that much easier to hate lawyers. Yeah.
Exactly.
A little bit of flip-flop back and forth between domestic and world news, but we'll go ahead and move on to some more local stuff. Really, the biggest thing we have going on here is that last November, Congress, specifically the legislature, the GOP majority, because we have because the Republicans hold the majority.
Carolina, by the way.
Yes, North Carolina. It's when I
our home state of North Carolina.
Woo, okay.
Best state.
They drew new election maps that would strongly favor the GOP, expecting to win 10 or 11 of the 14 House seats up for grabs in this 2022 election. And one of the lower courts upheld the maps. And then just recently, the North Carolina Supreme Court struck down the new voting maps in a 4-3 split decision. It was also split directly onto party lines. So, you can argue that the courts are supposed to be impartial, but we all know that they aren't.
I mean,
much.
when you have to run as a Republican or a Democrat.
Yeah, whenever that's on the ballot for whenever you're voting for your justices. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically that gets interesting because that gets into gerrymandering and the debates on that and what should be allowed. Basically, two arguments is that on the left you have the argument of gerrymandering infringes on the right to vote, because basically if you draw the map a certain way, it makes your vote not as powerful or not as fair, because if you're in a district that is very overwhelmingly, if you're voting left wing and you're in a district that's very overwhelmingly right, just because of how the map was so drawn so screwly, then your vote basically isn't worth anything. Versus what you have on the right, which is basically, I gotta find the quote. Is that thank you, Timmy.
You're gonna find it, or you're gonna move on?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Basically, the
just give us like whatever you remember.
Basically, they made the comment. One of the main argument that the Republicans on the court said that they, for trying to uphold the voting maps, was that they're not unconstitutional because there's nothing in the laws against gerrymandering, and so by striking down the maps due to that, then you're going against the wishes, because there's nothing in the laws, and you're basically you're trying to write legislature at that point. So I mean, it's an interesting play, because it's just a matter of how you want to look at it, I guess.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of interesting how Republicans are taking the Democrat approach. Yeah, I'm going to do it, and you can do nothing to stop me. I
was going to say, I mean, the bad thing about anytime something like this happens is that one side's like, oh, we can do this, and you can't stop us from doing this. And then once party power flips, the other side does it, and then you get mad and like, oh, why are you doing this? Like, you did it before. I mean, it's like
the same thing with the filibuster.
Right.
Yeah. Like, right now, the Democrats are pissed about the filibuster. When the Republicans had the minority, or when the Republicans had the majority in Congress, they were pissed about the filibuster because the Democrats used it.
Yeah, it was the same. It was the same thing with the with Supreme Court nominations. I mean, or it's a similar thing. It's shaping up to be a similar thing. With Republicans changing the like what you need to pass a Supreme Court nominee from, what was it, 2/3 to now just a simple majority. And now they're probably, if I had to make any predictions, they're probably going to get bent out of shape whenever whoever Biden's nomination is, whenever he picks one, gets approved with 50% or 51% Senate. And they're going to be like, oh, why are we doing this? And it's going to be like, well, you were the ones that allowed this to happen. Exactly. So, I mean, it just gets frustrating.
Yeah. It's interesting how that lowering that number for allows like more radical, or like, I guess, more polarized candidates to get on.
Oh, yeah.
So like
it just allows
Clarence
more polarizing
Thomas,
things more.
Clarence Thomas is like the least polarizing candidate of them all. He's just a clear-cut conservative. He's there. Well, anyways, let's not get into other reasons. But anyways, and so he got, was it 2/3 of the Senate vote, and so like we should. I feel like we should be able to at least get 2/3. Like if you can't get 2/3 on somebody, then you have a problem with your list. You know what I'm saying? Like, now, if say Republicans or Democrats are blocking somebody just because they're a Republican or a Democrat, that's not good. So
I was going to say,
there's a flip side to that.
And I'm afraid that that's sort of what we've devolved into, not just with Supreme Court nominees, but with legislation in general.
Right.
We're going to block this because it was written by Democrats.
Yeah.
Rather than we're going to block this because it's crap legislation, or
I
was going to say it's not good for my constituents.
It just seems there's just so much that's clear split by party lines.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just
Well,
frustrating sometimes.
anyways, to segue from that, so back to the gerrymandering thing,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. So in North Carolina, gerrymandering's kind of been a big deal
Right.
because we're a purple state, or at least we used to be.
Right.
And so, big deal. And Democrats control the state legislature from, I think it was the 1920s until the 1990s or something. I can't remember. It's been a while that the Democrats controlled it. And then after the 1990s, it's pretty much been Republican control. But so the funny thing is that, North Carolina, swing state, purple state, we're in the news a lot. Well, the thing that's not in the state that's not in the news is New York for gerrymandering. And so what is it? Yeah. Okay. So they have 26 total seats. And so it used to be a 19-8, split between Democrats with 19 and 8 with Republican.
Right.
But with their gerrymandering, which is, that's not a Republican saying it. That's an independent here saying it's gerrymandering. But anyways, with that happening, it's now going to be a 22-4 split in New York.
Nice.
Can you imagine?
Interesting.
No. The funny thing is that if you look at the amount of red throughout New York, it's insane to see. Obviously, like, a lot more people are in the cities, so like you're gonna have more districts in the cities. I get that, but oh my gosh, you see.
Can you find it faster?
Yeah,
I found the quote.
No, I did find my quote though.
Oh,
okay.
But I'm not gonna worry about it.
Yeah.
Let me do the 2020 real quick. Just because it's so bad.
Anytime now.
Okay. Well,
all right, here we go.
Okay. Well,
so if you look at this,
can't see anything.
That's not 2020. I'm sharing my screen. Just give me a second. You disabled it, so you got to enable it.
We're getting there. Oh my god!
All right.
You too.
All right, here we go. All right, so if you look here, there are so many more red counties than blue counties. It's just that all of the blue counties make up all of the population. So I get the 19-8 split. I understand it. But at the same time, it's like you already have a super majority confirmed in New York. Like, there's no way Republicans are going to take that away from you. And yet you want to get more seats? Oh, man. But yeah.
Yeah. Be interesting. I guess it's North Carolina Supreme Court did that.
Yeah.
On the flip side, the Supreme Court, big Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court.
So we're moving on to Capitol Hill.
The big Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yes.
Moving on to our Capitol Hill segment.
Yeah.
Yes. The more boring of the news, to be honest with you.
We're going to fly through all of this. Yeah.
They actually restored Alabama's congressional voting map. So a lower court.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, a lower court challenged the voting maps. But eventually, I guess it was brought to the Supreme Court, where they actually reinstated it with a 5-4 vote. It was Justice Roberts
Big surprise.
was in dissent. He was the one person not along lines.
Big surprise.
Which, sort of after our previous discussions, sort of like to see that not everyone's party lines.
Yeah.
But
he's got a history.
It was based off of race discrimination or claims of race discrimination. But the Supreme Court said, no, you can have it. So yeah.
That's probably the biggest.
It was said that it impacted voter rights laws. Power black voters, but those that were I guess that were for reinstating it basically said that, it doesn't make any change to the voting rights laws.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so-
yeah, it makes sense. It's interesting how that
5-4.
kind of goes along with the voter ID type thing,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah, it
just
does.
yeah. But
Well,
that's a discussion for another day. But no, Sean Roberts is
that's
definitely the fattest L that George W. Bush took. Not even Iraq or Afghanistan. That's because he has voted more for the Democrats than for Republicans. There's just no way. Oh man. Like if there's one person I could replace, it would definitely be him.
Yeah, not any of the Democrats.
No. At least they're true to their core principles. I mean, you can't fault them for that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we have on the Supreme Court?
We have
nominations updates.
Yeah, we'll jump into
yeah.
some nomination updates.
I wanna hear
So
this.
basically, we have the whole thing about Stephen Breyer probably resigning, and then so Biden made the comment that he wants to nominate the first African American woman to the Supreme Court. And so then we're getting a lot of kickback from the Republican minority in the Senate because they're arguing pretty much that the idea, quote, the idea that race and gender should be the number one and number two criteria is not as it should be. That was said by Susan Collins.
Right. I'll agree
Which
with that.
is the most Democrats or Republicans?
I will. Yeah, I was gonna say. So I would definitely agree with that. Like,
yeah.
Let's get a nomination based off of merit.
Yeah. So let's just go off of merit. And from there,
maybe that way
really
you get a nomination more than
51-50
vote.
Yeah.
Whereas you have on the flip side of that, but I also think it's interesting how both parties are going about it, because, for example, in 2016, whenever Justice Scalia died, McConnell went to the White House to inform Obama that he had no intention of considering Obama's nominee to fill the seat.
Yeah.
And whereas now you have McConnell telling reporters that you can anticipate the Senate, the Republican minority, treating the nominee with respect and going through the process in a serious, thoughtful way.
Interesting.
So basically, I think what they're hoping to do is not look like, at least the Republican minority, not look at it from a gender race perspective. And if it is someone that is worth putting there, then fine.
Well, you want to know the difference between now and 2016?
Well, 2016, we had election coming up.
That was one difference. What was the other difference?
We had the majority.
The majority.
Yeah.
Republicans had the majority.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes to, McConnell can't, they can't really stop anything.
Yeah.
The minority.
Well,
so
our next news,
but it's also interesting on the it's interesting on the it's interesting on the flip side that Schumer, the Democratic leader, said every single member of this chamber, regardless of party, should embrace the president's commitment to make our courts, and especially the Supreme Court, better reflect our country's diversity. And nominating a black woman as a justice is a long overdue step towards achieving that goal. So let's talk about the diversity on the Supreme Court.
Wait a minute.
Right now, as it sits, if we take Stephen Breyer off, and so we have 8 justices, then there's 5 male justices and there's 3 female justices.
Okay.
Population of the U.S. is about 50-50. So it's not exact.
I mean, that's as close as you can get, though.
You can
What
get
are you
to
gonna-
4 and 4, 4 and 5, whereas right now
Yeah,
it's
but-
6 and 3. But okay,
I mean,
okay.
that's pretty good. That's
That-
pretty good.
We can
I
also.
mean, the amount of nominees that are women
Yeah, I was going to say.
versus the amount of nominees that are
Well,
men.
that's
I would
also
say
what I was going to say.
yeah.
I don't feel like looking it up right now. If someone wants to, they can. But
Yeah,
you can also look at statistics of lawyers that are
Yeah,
male, female. And I think that one is actually closer to 30 something percent female.
yeah.
And so that's actually closer to what it is.
Yeah.
Does that represent the population exactly? No.
No,
But it does represent the pool that they can pull from.
Right. That's
On the flip side, we have 1 out of 9 justices that are African American for a country that is 14% African American.
Oh, come on.
14%, is that it?
Yeah, 14.2.
Okay.
It's gone up a little bit, but
Yeah, it's
then again,
around
we
there.
just had
It's around there though.
we just had a census, so I guess
Yeah.
'Cause it was like what 13.3% or 12 something.
I don't
I'm
know
not sure what
Yeah.
it was before.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's somewhere around 14.
It's almost
probably.
a whole percentage.
Somewhere
Yeah,
around
I'd say,
there.
yeah.
1 in 9 justices puts it at 11%.
Yeah. Which that's
Oh,
pretty close.
But like,
What is
if you-
1 in 8 though?
1 in 8 is would it be
So
It'd be
13 and a half,
12 and a half.
12 and a half.
12 and a half. Yeah. So that's pretty
That'd be
close.
closer.
Like that's that's probably as close as you can get, to be honest.
So if we really wanted to talk about reflecting our country's diversity,
Yeah.
we can talk about that. But I mean, I just go back to just do it off of merit.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's pretty close. It's not perfect. It's not exact, but it's not going to be.
right.
If
I
we're
mean,
really
if
going to
you-
do it, then we need to include other races also.
Yeah.
Like, why are we
Exactly.
just, if you're going to quote trying to fill it for diversity's sake, why are you limiting it to just African Americans?
Yeah.
Seems a little
And
counterproductive.
I was going to say, and from a merit standpoint, if you take, I mean, there's no constitutional restrictions on who you can nominate for the Supreme Court. And so you just wiped away 86% of your pool that you can pull from.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd be
It'd be closer to
it'd be closer to, let's see, 12,
93.
14,
All
93.
right. The two math whizzes going at it.
it'll be closer to 93 when you get into a female African American.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting. And we'll see
Yeah.
how that all shakes out. We'll see if what all the GOP does, if they sort of stand by like giving it a fair shot, or if they try.
So
and
the funny thing about that,
which we can
segueing
get
into the next thing,
Nate's current event. Yep.
right? So there's two options right now to Republicans, and the first one is that the what's his name, Senator Lujan from New Mexico, suffered a stroke or a heart attack. I saw an article on a heart attack, and I saw another one on a stroke, but I'm going to go with the stroke. And so he's out for I think a month and a half or something. I can't remember what it is. And so for the next month and a half, Republicans are going to have basically a majority because it'll be 49-50 in the Senate. So kind of a bad time for Stephen Breyer to retire. I mean, like, there's no way he would have known about this, but it's kind of funny that as soon as he decides to retire and they start like the process for looking for another Supreme Court nominee is as soon as this guy gets a stroke.
We want a quick plug here. It's not funny that he got a stroke.
It's not funny that he got a stroke. It's ironic that it
Thoughts and
happens.
prayers with them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's terrible.
But yes,
I'm glad
no,
he made it
the
to
timing is
Senate.
ironic.
But it's ironic that as soon as that happens, it's like just the worst possible. I mean, like, it's almost confirmed that their Supreme Court nominee would get on, and then it's like, nah, we're not gonna. Nah, that's not gonna happen. Exactly.
Give it a month or two.
But the other one, which is kind of a bit more of like a nerdy type thing to do, because you have to actually read the laws of Congress, which not fun. But there's a law basically saying that if there has to be a majority in the committee to confirm the nominee.
Yep.
And so a majority would be, a majority. And so since it's 50-50 in all of these committees, if the Republicans just don't show up to the vote in committee, then the Democrats don't have a majority and they can't confirm whoever Biden wants to the Senate floor because they only have 50 people. They don't, or 50% of the people there. And so it's kind of funny that like even then it's still like got him.
still can't do anything. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that power plays into
exactly.
What McConnell said.
Especially, he's willing to actually contemplate it. I mean, obviously, it's not going to change the balance on the Supreme Court since Republicans have a supermajority right now. But
right.
With who is the justice? Oh my gosh, what's his name? We just talked
Roberts.
about. Yeah, Roberts. With him there, it's
Junior.
50. It's a 50-50 split. So
yeah,
he's taken on the role. He's picked up the torch of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He's moving on. But
yeah.
Oh man.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that too. So
I mean, it's interesting because
I guess to sum up with all of our current events, we're keeping an eye on everything.
Yeah, but I think the Supreme Court
has basically that's our current events is nothing has happened. Just there's a bunch of stuff happening
that could happen. Yeah. And I think the Supreme Court is one of the major institutions that we have to look out for because when you're appointed for life.
Oh yeah.
It's not like that can change easily. Like the Senate or the House of Representatives of the presidency,
right.
That's, there are eras of 10, 20, 30 years of Democrat Republican rule, so it's like,
oh yeah.
And of course that affects our laws.
It is a very powerful branch of government.
Yeah. I think the best example is when FDR got 4 terms in a row. He literally picked, I think, all but one at the very end of it. I think he picked all but one Supreme Court or person on the Supreme Court. And then he tried to pack the court, which that didn't go over well. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, court packing.
It's just, it's just interesting to research and look through as a person who took constitutional law.
Yeah.
Not that I'm smart enough to be a lawyer, but it was interesting at the time. It was definitely the hardest class that I've ever taken. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah,
I could imagine.
All right, moving on.
Moving on to our history section.
Chapel Hill. Yeah, history.
History. Yeah. We're talking about
big stick.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Theodore Roosevelt's big stick policy.
Ideology,
big
policy.
Stick, yes.
It's both.
All right.
Inside joke.
Let's see. So, I guess
I don't know. You want to hit this one?
I can do parts of it.
Do you want me to start off with it? I can start off with it.
Sure.
All right. So, I don't know. Basically, the whole idea was that Theodore Roosevelt was basically the spearhead of American imperialism around the world. And so, because, he fought, what was it, San Juan Hill with the Rough Riders in Cuba. And so, he's kind of like one of those people where he's like, if we're not fighting, what are we doing? We always have to be pushing.
Gotta be doing something.
Right. And
if you're not gaining, you're losing.
Right. And so his big stick policy kind of reflects that. And so I don't know. He likes to make a lot of out there comments. He's a funny guy. But anyways, he made this policy basically saying, again, it's an addendum to the Monroe Doctrine, but he said that to America is the power in the Western Hemisphere, and we won't tolerate you intervening. And so we're not going to say anything about it, but if you do something about it, we're going to mess you up. We're going to slack you with our big stick. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me expand on the Monroe Doctrine real quick.
Yeah.
So basically, James Monroe, 5th president, right? 5th. Yeah. 5th president.
Math whiz, got to get that math going.
Oh yeah. But at that time, I guess 1823, around there. So the Spanish had colonized a bunch of the Americas. But by the 1820s, a bunch of this, a lot of the Americas was close to independence. So Monroe basically stated that European powers shouldn't try to influence or control the Americas, the New World.
Right.
And if they did, it would be viewed as a threat to U.S. security. But in turn, the U.S. would recognize, not interfere with the existing European colonies, and not meddle with the internal affairs of the European countries.
Right.
And so, yeah, basically, like Nate said, Teddy Roosevelt basically took that policy, the Monroe Doctrine, and basically used that in conjunction with, we'll say, his big stick policy, basically making sure that the European countries stayed out of the Americas. While we sort of meddled in the Americas.
we pushed the European powers out and then said, yeah, no, you can't come back.
Yeah. So I mean, Roosevelt used it. I guess it was used in Venezuela, with the British.
Yeah.
And then it was also used. Let's see, the Panama Canal.
Right. That was his big accomplishment.
I was going to say that was the big accomplishment of Teddy Roosevelt, was Panama Canal. Right. That came about because of the big stick policy.
Yeah.
Post construction of the Nicaragua Canal. Did that actually?
I can look that up. Keep going.
Yeah. I don't know. But also Cuba. Because after the Spanish-American War,
which he fought in,
there were some expansionists in America that wanted to annex Cuba. I guess that was probably a little bit of manifest destiny going on there.
Yeah, I mean, considering what's happened up until recently, we definitely should have.
May have solved some things that went on.
Some future problems.
Yeah. But that's okay. That's hindsight 2020, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely the rise. I take a lot of classes on this, but you can see that the rise of imperialism correlates with the rise of industrialization in America, basically after the Civil War. And so, because from when we took Cuba from Spain, we liberated them, I guess. I don't know. I think we kind of like had a government, but they're more like a puppet government. And then we took the Philippines for ourselves. And so, of course,
that was part of the Teller Amendment.
Right.
Which basically said that the U.S. disclaims any intention or disposition of intention to exercise sovereignty over Cuba.
Right. But with the Philippines, what we learned is that, you can't really colonize people when they don't want to be colonized. I mean, we should have known that from the get-go, because how did we come about? But,
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a lot. It was like, I think it was 9 years of bloody civil war, just wasted lives, pretty much. Yeah. Guerrilla warfare just absolutely decimated our will to fight there, and so we left. Just like, okay, Philippines, sure, But I don't know. It's just interesting to see that with this big stick policy and our meddling in South America and Central America, and then we definitely didn't learn our lesson from the Philippines. So
yeah. I was gonna say it's an interesting, I guess, face value, what his policy is. What was the actual speak softly and carry a big stick, you'll go far.
Right.
And face value sounds like a good policy. basically, use diplomacy, use peace, but be prepared for stuff going bad.
Be prepared to back up your diplomacy. And
yeah,
peace.
exactly. That aspect's fine. How it was really implemented in the Americas, questionable.
But then again, what country doesn't have some questionable things?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess
I don't know. It's the big thing to take away from this is that America was like, hey, we want sole control over South America, or I guess influence over South and Central America.
Yeah.
And then Europe was like, fine, we really don't care. we're kind of involved in Africa and
they were like,
India,
let's go
and
to Africa.
Everywhere else. So yeah, I mean, also World War I was right around the corner, so it's not like they really had the people to and the money to invest in that anyways. Plus, like it's so far away. Just having an entire ocean between the two.
It's expensive. Expensive.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think the French sold the Louisiana Purchase for what, 9-7 million, something like that? What a steal! Yeah, one of the best. I think it was probably the best deal in all of America's history so far, other than Alaska, because we acquired that for like 2 or 3 million. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Oh man.
So,
yeah.
I guess that'll
another history lesson.
Quick history lesson.
It's kind of interesting. The thing I want to say what I took away from it.
Yeah.
Is that like I knew about I knew a lot about the Monroe Doctrine and big stick policy, but like it's good to go back in and reaffirm what I know, just so I'm not like pulling stuff out of thin air. Like, oh, I kind of remember this from 10th grade history that one time that I was paying attention. It's just like it's good to go in and reaffirm that, and also like it helps you connect the dots in the industry. So, yeah,
definitely. So,
anything to add,
I'll conclude that.
No,
all right. Maybe the more interesting section.
More interesting, yeah.
The most interesting section.
Say we can solve
the one that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, really.
Nate, okay, I want to make some predictions. Do we have any predictions on if we think we actually solved any problems this time?
Right. Let me get my piece of paper ready. Okay.
Do you think we solved a problem, Nate?
Like personally,
I mean, think you solved it.
I mean, I think I can get pretty close. I'm not going to say solved, but I think I can get pretty close.
I was going to say I have some broad ideas, but
like it's
implementation
like
is really nitpicky. So I guess the question of the week is: if you were president, what would you do to fix the current international image of the U.S.?
All right.
So, what would you do? Indeed. Can I take
I'm
this
not
first?
Going first.
No, I'll take this
I'm
first.
going to go first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me take this.
Honestly, this will probably turn into more of a roundtable discussion.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely discussion based.
But I
gotta give my
you can
opening statement.
Go ahead and give it out.
Yeah. So basically, there's a lot of problems within the one problem, a lot of questions within the one question.
Yeah.
Right.
So one of the biggest problems with U.S. international image isn't so much how we behave internationally as it is how other countries view the U.S. and our domestic politics, right? So actually one of the best ways to solve the international image of the US is to solve some of our domestic problems. And so it's sort of a 2 birds with 1 stone kind of thing. Get to solve some of our own problems and solve this one. Of course, I guess internationally, our healthcare system, people don't really think it looks really any good, at least on average.
Which we'll talk about that another week.
Right. Yeah, we'll get into that later.
I was
That's
going to
a
say, the
whole
thing
nother
is
topic.
like, yeah, so I would want to solve that image, but we can get into that this week. One of the other big things that people have a problem with the US, or think the US has a problem in, is discrimination. That's another big topic that we can't cover today.
I mean,
that by solving it, I mean, we can gloss over parts of it, but
it's a good thing
it really deserves its own week, I think.
It really does.
But I mean, but if you were to somehow solve that, or at least make it better, that would help the image of the US.
Yeah.
Let's see. Image. I mean, a lot of them are entertainment products.
I would hope so.
Let's see. Military is above average. Expected. Universities are above average. That's fine.
Well, okay. So that's one thing I would like to say, is that a lot of people think that Americans are fat, lazy, and stupid. So let me ask you this question. How would you combat being fat, lazy, and stupid?
Well, let's address them one at a time. Fat.
Okay.
That one, I guess, on an individual level or a national level.
Just whatever you think.
Can we go back to
play sports?
No. I was thinking about going back.
Lots of sports.
No. Remember,
we win in the Olympics. We have the most gold medals in the Summer Olympics.
Yeah, and winter. Yeah, last winter. Yeah.
Okay.
Or we can go back to Michelle Obama's policies.
Oh, the lunch policies.
This lunch policies
they got rid of
make us healthier.
They got rid of the cookies and the pizza, the good pizza.
Yeah, they got rid of the good pizza.
Oh my gosh.
What did she give us? Yams. Oh yeah. Anybody ate that.
Yeah. Let's see.
Anyways.
Oh, that was the other thing. So, political system. A lot of people think that our political system is not good.
Right.
And this is international. This is international polling.
Which we'll probably also dig deeper on that also.
I was going to say, remember, this is international polling. So they think that most people say that it can be used as a good example, but has not been used as a good example in recent years. And let's see, about a quarter say that it's never been a good example for other countries to follow.
And who would that be? Russia, China?
I was thinking about this. Just quick little side note. We were talking about the World Trade Organization today in one of my classes. And with the World Trade Organization,
of course.
It's one country, one vote, right?
Yeah.
Now there's some problems with that system. Okay. Can we agree that there are problems with that system?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got some countries like the US, Germany, and China, who are the largest exporters in the world, who have the same.
Japan.
No, it's the US, China, and Germany.
Okay.
The three largest exporters in the world. They have the same voting power as, say,
Botswana.
Greece. No.
Yeah.
Greece is poor.
Well,
we have the same voting, but we have the same voting power as them.
Right.
Now, let's propose a solution to that. Let's have voting power based off of population of countries. Okay. What's the problem? What's the problems with that?
China.
Now all your voting power rests with the U.S., China.
No. China and India.
India.
They've a billion people.
There you go. You know who doesn't have any voting power now? Greece.
Germany. Oh, okay. Yeah.
it's still a problem, right?
Yeah.
Can we agree on that? What may be a solution to at least maybe help with this problem?
This
A
thing that
compromise.
Let's imagine a system. Let's imagine a system where you sort of combine the two. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have that proportion, that percentage, that votes based off of population size, or even if you wanted to, because it's World Trade Organization, if you wanted to do it off of economy size
Or export size.
just to make it, just to sort of, but it's the same principle. But let's try to make it a little more fair, combine the two. So let's take the proportion representation method and sort of combine it with the equal proportion representation method.
Right.
So let's have everyone have one vote and then add votes based off of proportion.
Right.
Does that sound at least a little more fair to everyone?
Yeah.
It's exactly what the Electoral College does.
Exactly. Well,
Essentially. Well,
essentially.
no, yeah.
Well, it would be the Senate
No,
and
that's,
the House of Representatives, but
no. That's what the House does. That's what the Electoral College does, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
it's exactly what the Electoral College
I
says.
meant for legislation.
I realize that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
States
Quick plug. I was
Anyways.
just thinking about that today as we were talking about the World Trade Organization.
Took the long train around there, but we got there in the end. All right.
All right. Let's see. I've already said that discrimination was an issue.
Yeah.
Actually, interestingly enough, now note that this survey, this is on Pew Research, so it should be pretty accurate.
That's pretty
accurate.
That's trust. I'll trust them. This survey was November 1st, 2021.
Okay. It's pretty recent.
I was going to say, not, yeah, that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
Okay. So Biden actually got much higher ratings than Trump. At least in confidence and favorability.
That's
which
no surprise.
I was going to say that's to be expected, because I think we can all agree that Trump really didn't care about international image a whole lot.
Well, I mean, he didn't care about international interests, which then goes to international image.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not to say he didn't care about international events that may affect the U.S., of course. But yes, I mean, But there's a difference there. But it'll be interesting to see how that changes, if it changes throughout Biden's presidency. Biden did rejoin the Paris Agreement and the World Health Organization. So that probably helped as well. So I guess my how I would fix the image, to actually answer my question, is to fix the problems that people see internally with the U.S., namely healthcare discrimination, and then, or at least try to combat some of that, or make it so that they are not seen as problems. Because I mean, we can talk about whether discrimination really is a problem or not. Or at least systematic discrimination, we'll say.
Right.
Because, of course, perception of that being a problem and it actually being a problem is two different things. So we'll say combating the perception that it's a problem, combating the perception that the U.S. healthcare system is a problem,
combating the perception that the election system is a problem.
Yeah. So we'll... that's how I would do it. And also I would just make sure I would join at least I would probably join as many international organizations as I could if I was president.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I would.
Actually, can I jump on that?
Yeah.
So I did a little looking. I took it sort of from a different angle than Timmy did. I like the idea of solving internal problems first, because I think a lot of, I mean, as we've seen in more recent years, I think patriotism patriotism has gone down in the U.S.
I mean,
And
yeah,
tell
more
me,
so from a certain aspect.
but it's gone down.
But yeah, I would,
and
definitely agree with that.
can we agree that at least in a general broad sense, it's gone down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that also plays a big role in international image and what other countries think of us, because if we don't like ourselves,
Right, yeah.
that we're good, why should
anyone else like us?
And so that gets into some interesting stuff of honestly, so in a study done, let's see, I can find it.
Well, you're not ready. Come on.
No. Oh, I got it. Sorry. So
two. That's two.
It's two. Yeah. So nearly 60% of Americans think that the US should deal with its own problems and let other countries deal with their problems as best they can, while closer to 40% say that the US should help other countries. And so that gets into the whole thing of pulling out of the Middle East, and then if we should really get involved with Ukraine as much, and whether that would be good for our general population, whether we'd have the support behind us. Because if we don't have the support, is that really going to end well? And then that would just wouldn't help our international image if we don't have a good image. But on the same time, on the other side of the coin, we have to balance it so that like the world has become so incredibly globalized that you can't just go into isolation. It just doesn't work. You can't. It's not an option anymore. And so it's a matter of balancing those two coins, which is why I sort of like wanted to jump off where Timmy was talking about joining as many organizations. In the same study, Americans overwhelmingly view that NATO membership is beneficial to the U.S. 77% saying that being a member of NATO is a good thing. And so I think we do see a lot of support for these international organizations. I think that if we were to join them, there's certain ones that we would need to be more involved in than others. Definitely, just
I mean, when I say I want to join all of them that I can, I'm not saying we need to be the leader of every single one.
No, I realize that. I'm also just thinking like,
I mean, we could be, but
this article is from 2006, and so I realized a lot's changed in 15 years. But it still sort of gets the same point across that when you're talking about like UN peacekeeping forces, this article specifically quotes back, why is Bangladesh deploying 10,000 more peacekeepers than the Netherlands or even Canada, the country that prides itself on having invented UN peacekeeping? And so you get into the idea of leading by example and doing more with that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's probably the general broad sense of how I would go about it. Whether logistically it'd be super easy or not, who knows? Getting into those organizations, and then also with the first part as far as trying to balance the coin of being involved while also keeping the public happy and trying to not be over involved in other countries' problems.
I was going to say, and it becomes sticky when you have situations like, let's say, we're a part of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund.
Right.
Okay. So what if you, let's say you want to join them because you want to lead by example, you want to foster community and all of this. But on the flip side, you don't agree with what they're doing. because you think what they're doing is actually harming countries, because the money that they send to poor countries is just funneled into government and just
it just sits there,
just
so
lost to the government instead of actually being used for what it was supposed to be used for.
Timmy remembers what we learned about in 2019. 2018, maybe
2018. What?
We talked about that in one of our classes.
Oh, okay, whatever. But yeah, I mean, so I guess that's when the real question comes up of like, what do you do there? Because you want to be a part of, let's say you want to be a part of the organization because you think it helps build your relationships with other countries and leads by example, but it doesn't really do what you want it to do. So it's just a question you have to tackle. I guess if I had to answer it right here, right now, I guess you don't join what you don't agree with. I guess it makes sense that way.
Well, you could,
but I think you're also going to also run into problems with that, because there will always be something that happens that you don't agree with. Like, let's say the UN makes a decision that you voted against.
Are you gonna
you're not gonna leave the UN?
Yeah.
That's just not smart. And so, I guess I'd stand by my policy of join as many as possible.
Okay, so that's the question.
Spread your influence. Lead by example. Build relationships.
So that's the question that I had was: are we going for just solely increasing or bettering our international image, or are we actually doing like, what would you do? Not like, because like there's two questions there.
Yeah,
there's something that I would do.
Like as president, what would you do versus like
I would totally quit the Paris Agreement.
Right.
That's not going to raise our international image at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is it? What question do I have to answer? Would it be what would I do? Or would it be, do I have to solely just increase international image?
What would you, as president of the United States, what would you do to increase to fix the current U.S. international image?
Okay. So
that's the question. And you may answer that question however you read the question and understand the question.
Okay. So I'm going to have to take a couple hits first off. So there's definitely two big ones. The first one's going to be leaving the Paris climate agreement thing, because it's just dumb. Just dumb.
Okay.
We'll tackle climate change in another episode.
Yeah. The second one is that I would definitely think about dissolving NATO, because right now, other than Ukraine, Russia, really, what is the purpose of NATO?
Interesting.
So like
interesting.
And if we're funding 44 or whatever percentage of it, what's the point if nothing's happening?
Would you propose something in NATO's place?
Yeah, probably with like England, France, Canada, Mexico. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so
core
like
countries around us,
stuck by us. So like a NATO reboot kind of thing.
Right. But I'm not going to propose anything to Germany, Turkey.
Why not Germany?
Because they're in league with Russia, or at least partially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, it's Germany. You just never know. You never know. You never know. But anyways, so what I would do is, I agree with you that fixing domestic things definitely would help us abroad. And so I was watching a short video actually today, where this guy was on Omegle, and he asked Americans, like, can you name 3 countries in Africa? Or can you name 3 countries that start with a G? Can you name any countries in Europe? All these different things. Mm-hmm. And granted, some of these people are like 12. So like, I'm not expecting them to know a country in Africa
And then the other
12.
side of it is that you can
But-
also just cut the videos that you want.
Exactly.
But
That's
yes,
the-
no, I
that's-
still get the
but-
point. I still get the point.
So, and the guy finally met a girl who was in college, and she could name like 3 countries that started with a G, 3 countries in Africa, and 3 countries in Europe, and whatever else. I mean, he kept questioning her to try and get her to slip up. But anyways,
Right.
so the deal is that a lot of, especially Europeans, a lot of people think that Americans are stupid.
Right.
Which I'd like to remind you that these stupid people built the greatest economy in the world and the greatest, most free system of government in the world.
Along with
So-
don't we have the high? Can someone fact check this? Is that we have the best technological advancements?
I mean, I guess that's I would guess yes,
Mm.
but kinda
That's
answers
a broad
technological development.
Yeah.
a broad category.
Yeah. So I won't. I guess we won't.
I mean, anyways, but it's like we have 330 million people. I expect a lot of them to be dumb. Like if you have an average, of whatever an average, I don't know how, whatever average. Sorry, my roommate. But anyways, whatever average you believe, is of average intelligence, and then you're going to have to expect half of the people to be below that.
Mhm.
So like in a country in Europe, say the Netherlands, with like 5 million people, that's only 2 million people that are 2.5 million people are below the average of intelligence. So it's
Yeah.
just like, The next one is lazy, and I'm not going to fight that one. That's a tough one because a lot of people are lazy.
Right.
I'm not going to fight that one. I'm just going to say that at least the people who are entrepreneurs and business people and all these kind of people making a lot of money, Elon Musk,
Well,
Bezos,
that also comes
they're
down
not
to,
lazy.
and that also comes down to a culture thing and just like
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If
that
you
gets
wanna
down
look
to
at-
the individual level at that point.
I mean, like the people, I think aren't the Japanese like the most workaholic type people? I don't know. Anyways, I'll have to look that up myself. But like, do they have the #1 economy? Are they the best country in the world? No. So I guess maybe there's something to being lazy there. But obviously correlation, causation, whatever. And then the third thing is fat, lazy, and stupid. And so fat, yeah. We have a good economy. We have a lot of food, an overabundance of food. So yeah, we can be fat. I mean, like you calling people fat, you're saying like that's a bad thing. Like obviously for the individual person themselves, it's a bad thing, or the body. But in terms of choices,
It means we have a surplus of what we have. as
exactly. If you
availability.
choose to be fat, you can choose to be fat. Go to North Korea. I bet you that 99.999% of them would choose to be fat over eating grass. Come at us, Europe. What you got? Oh man. But anyways, I don't know. It's just I feel like those are 3 main things. Now onto in terms of I guess image. I've just kind of politely remind all of Europe who has protected them for the past 100+ years. Oh, that's right, America. I forgot about that one. Oh, yeah. Who has provided economic aid to them for the past 100+ years? That's right, America. Who has supplied food, especially to Russia, which is something that I figured out, for the past 100 years? Oh, that's right, America. Interesting. Now, and I mean, specific examples would be like Greece and Turkey in the 50s, where we provided them with the Marshall Plan, we provided economic aid so they wouldn't turn communist. It's just, one of the simple things. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of this international image is a misperception on the rest of the world. Then again, obviously, I'm an American, so I'm going to think that a lot of theirs is misperception, because I'm biased, and I will admit it. But I feel like a lot of the rest of the world wants to bring America down instead of joining America up at the top. You know what I'm saying? Like they're more willing to tear America down in terms of its success and economic, surplus that we have, instead of trying to join us up there. Like places like Brazil, one of the BRIC countries, like you don't think that Brazil has a good economy until you look at how much, I guess, they're exporting. which is insane to think about. You
Yeah.
know, and same thing with India, which with a growing population. I mean, China's number one enemy is India, not the U.S. It's India, because India has a better growing technology base than America does, and China, and they have more better population growth than China does. And so, you know, it's just like all these countries that, you know, are you would think, well, they are third world countries. You know, they're doing better than a lot of first world countries like England, France, Germany, Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, whichever one it is today. Yeah, any of these countries, like, sure, come at us. What you gonna do? You're gonna run and hide in our military bases when you get attacked by Russia? I mean, come on. I think Ukraine's the best example of this. Like, what happens if there is no NATO?
Right.
Europe gets run over. I mean, you know, it's just like, I just feel like our international image is being tarnished because people don't want to admit that they rely on the U.S. for a lot more than what they actually, you know, want to believe.
Yeah.
So, and I think the best, I think that Japan shows this the best, is that Japan, the people may hate Americans individually, but the country as a whole loves America. And it's just overwhelming. And I love the videos in Hong Kong where they're literally waving the American flag, saying, "America, come protect us." You know, you know, what more do you need? Yeah. Also, freedom of speech.
I was going to say, whenever Hong Kong is protesting and they're waving American flags for their symbol of freedom,
right? Boy, did the BBC avoid.
They're not waving Canadian flags or German flags or British flags.
They did wave British flags, but that's only because
did they wave British flags? Okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you know, the point's still valid.
Britain's not going to save them, though.
Exactly. They signed an agreement to turn them over. Like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, at least there's always Israel. Israel likes is a fan of us.
They like our.
That was only because of the past 4 years.
Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, for me, I feel like a lot of these, especially European countries, don't want to admit that America runs a lot of the. If without America, if you took America away, most of the world is in chaos.
Right.
Oh man, and you know, that's another thing for another video to discuss. But if you watch the newsroom clip, Jeff Daniels was posted like 2012, 10 years ago. A lot of people on the left like to push that to the forefront of their argument and say America's not number one, because like we're like third in terms of science and math and whatever else. And let me ask you, how many countries have sent a man to the moon? Name a list. Oh yeah, that's right. None except for America. How many countries even thought about space travel other than China, the Soviet Union, and I think India right now? I'm not sure.
Well, then you can also,
that's right. None.
What were what companies and where were the companies based? Who were the first companies to come out with vaccines?
Oh yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah, the American healthcare system.
Exactly.
Like, it's almost like it entices competition and innovation. Wow.
It's almost as if having a ginormous population means that there's a lot of people who may not agree with everything with the U.S. Oh, okay. Like the media. Yeah. There was a clip that I saw purely for my own entertainment. I watched where this Japanese couple, they were asked like, what do you think about Donald Trump? And they're like, well, what I've seen from the media is blah, 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 blah. He's bad, or, you know, he acts weird or whatever, you know? And I'm like, I get that, because in Japan, the media, I think, is state run. So of course you're going to trust the media. You know what I'm saying? Like, Of course you are. Whereas in America, we're like, we don't trust anybody unless it's, you know, the mailman coming with, you know, my mail. I trust him to be on time. If he's not, I'm going to throw a fit. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's so hypocritical.
Yeah, just different culture, different perspectives.
Right. Right.
So can we come to any sort of consensus on what we would do to fix?
Oh, dude, I think we solved it.
Well, I think between. Well, I think
we
if
solved it
if
in a broad sense.
Yeah.
In that we would go after domestic policies,
which we'll cover in future episodes of how we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that our image would be fixed or at least improved.
Mhm.
And then if we go at it from an international perspective, as far as like what Nate was saying, as far as maybe reminding people what it is we do.
Well, I think you do that by
organizations.
I was going to say, I think you do that by leading organizations.
Our ideas into one another's, and I think our ideas would just help each other's ideas.
You could revamp. I got to disagree with Nate on getting rid of NATO.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, can you? We can revamp it.
I mean, because all these other countries have a say in that, how are you going to without having to pander to all the other countries? So that's why I would rather do away with it and start afresh.
And replace it. I was gonna say, and that's certainly an option, but I would want something there.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I'm saying is I would want something there.
It's like when we saw Walter Williams. You remember at the thing when we saw Walter Williams, he said that when the guy asked him about the fair tax,
right,
and then Walter Williams said, "Yes, I agree with that, but only if they do away with the income tax first, because he doesn't want an overlap there in terms of two taxes." So that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I could agree with that.
Basically follow each other consecutively. I
think we could say we solved it. It's a very loose solution, very broad solution.
I mean, the other thing I want to say,
because he basically says we'll solve it by solving other problems.
Yeah. Well, it's a broad problem. It's not like
it is.
It's not like immigration. But anyways, there's one last thing I'd like to say to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark is that your populations are in order. Norway has 83% Norwegian, 8% other European, and then other 8.5%. Sweden, 80% Swedish, and then a breakdown like other 15%, and then something else. Denmark has 86.3% Danish. So my point here is that when your population is a very clear majority European/white, maybe try looking at how diverse your population is before looking at our problems and saying, oh, you have to fix that. I mean, when you have a whole bunch of different cultures together, America is the melting pot of the world. When you have a whole bunch of different cultures, there's going to be clashes.
I was going to say, yes, we discussed earlier that America, what percentage
is 14.2% Black?
Yeah, but what percentage is white then?
I think it's
it's a
70s.
Yeah, it's still a high number, but the difference there is that even though it's that high, there's still so many other cultures within
right.
that.
And then when you break that down, Denmark has 5.8 million people. Okay, so 86% of that is like 5 million people. You get what I'm saying? Like 14.2% of 330 million is a lot higher than 800,000. So it's like, obviously with individuals doing individual things and choosing different paths for each other, obviously you're going to have a lot more conflict there. So, when these European countries come out, I just have to face palm when this happens. It's just like, look at yourself. I mean, come on. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can say we solved it. It's a loose solve, but it's solved.
But I mean, with everyone's opinion put together, I'm pretty sure we've gotten pretty close.
We've got a good start.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like we're not the president, so we don't know. Like we focused on some things. There's obviously a lot of different things that we didn't
I was
focus
gonna say,
on.
Yeah.
I don't have
So-
my policy advisor right next to me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we could have chosen to focus on
And I didn't
more
even,
like
I didn't spend my entire week researching this problem. I'll be real honest. Like,
Maybe you should for next episode.
hey, I went
I'm just kidding.
first.
I'm just kidding. But yeah.
We could have gone from more perspectives of like what would we physically do as far as like meetings, reaching out to people, whatever else.
Right. Yeah. Making deals,
talks and
with
whatnot,
people.
deals, whatnot. You can go down that path, but in a very broad sense, broad policy sense, I think we at least made a dent. I'll say, as far as an idea of where to head.
Yeah, we can dive deeper maybe into it in future episodes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Get more specific with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can wrap that section up. Do either of y'all have any positive news to end this session off on?
Joe Biden's still a houseplant. That's pretty positive.
I actually do have some positive news.
I found some positive news also.
All right, let's hear it.
Go ahead.
So Jamestown, Wyoming, there was a home fire with a 34-year-old mother and 4 children.
This is not sounding very positive.
ages 4 to 12. And there was a passerby, Ryan Pasborg, who basically said he went in and he saw that the house was on fire, went in, found the woman on the floor, dragged her outside, noticed she was unresponsive, took different measures, and she was then responsive. And then
CPR, I'm guessing.
Life-saving measures. And so, I mean, just and I think he went back in time, back inside. I think maybe.
Yes, back in time. Yes.
So,
It's like, no, I'm just going to prevent the fire.
Doctor Strange, get the time stone.
But basically, just story about a house on fire, just random passerby noticing it and helping out. So always nice to see in your communities.
Especially
good for him. I hope the family is
doing well,
doing better, doing well. Sucks that their house was on fire, but
burnt down. But the town has a
he got all 4 of the children out.
Oh, okay,
put them in the truck and then went in for the woman and got her out. So they're all good.
So the town's population as of 2019 was 663. So that's
dude. I want to live in I want to live in a town like that when I'm older.
Yeah, I know, me too. Right?
Not like 20s or 30s, but like 50s,
definitely
60s and older. That'd just be chill.
That's
nice. We should make our own town. Call it the Third Triumvirate. Something to think about.
Some other really good news is a 75-year-old California man, after 10 years of observation, has been declared free of cancer after an immune cell treatment. So basically what happened was he had cancer, and then there was he underwent this experimental treatment. I guess so the treatment, it retrains immune cells to target cancer faster, and then stay on patrol for years, evolving to keep cancer at bay. And so he was administered that 10 years ago, and it was only 3 weeks after the experimental treatment was administered that they were not able to find a single cancer cell in his body.
Wow.
but he's been under observation
Yeah.
over these past 10
Yeah,
years, just, so they can keep studying, make sure that
Yeah.
it's okay. But
It's
yeah,
an
now
experimental drug.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But now as of 10 years later, he's been declared free of cancer.
That's awesome.
So this actually could be
a start.
revolutionary in battling cancer.
Pfizer.
So hopefully hopefully this will be good, turn into a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's always good to hear that the incurable cancer can be cured. So
yeah. It'll be awesome.
Okay.
You got anything else, Charlie or Nate?
Nope.
All right.
Let's end on a good note.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on a good note, we'll see y'all again next week.
Bye.